The next lesson plan we'll be talking about is all about vessels. In the subsea industry, they use different types of vessels to do different jobs. You have, for instance, rescue vessels that can help rescue workers. You have FPSOs, which are large production ships that can be used to produce and offload oil. And you, for instance, have pipe lay vessels that help lay pipelines. When we're talking about vessels, obviously vessels float. So what we need to talk about is about buoyancy. Buoyancy is a very complex topic to try and teach students, but I'll try and help you along the way. So buoyancy is a force, which is kind of the first thing you want to get across. So the way to do this is if you can get a big balloon and get pupils to try and push the balloon on the water. If you can, do this outside because some of the water obviously will come up, but try and get them to push the balloon on the water, and they'll experience that something is pushing back against them. And you might have done this if you had a ball in a swimming pool, push the ball in the water and the ball just shoots up. This is the buoyancy force pushing against the ball. So buoyancy is a force, which is the first thing you want to get across. And then in order for things to float, they need to displace an amount of water that's equal to its own weight. This is known as the Archimedes principle. So for an object to float, it needs to displace water the same as its weight. So the second thing you want to talk about when you're talking about buoyancy is talk about water displacement. One very easy way to show that water is being displaced is if you get a glass or a bowl filled to the top with water and an item to put in. When you place the item in the water, you'll see some of the water overflows. So if you could catch this water and weigh this water, if your object floats, the weight of this water would be exactly the same as the weight of the object. In my case, my object sank. So if the object sinks, the weight of the water is less than the weight of the object. So if you weigh the water, you should be able to find that. In order for something to float, it needs to displace a weight of water equal to its own weight. So you can show it like that. You can also show it if you have a measuring cylinder or a big jug with markings on it. You could measure how much the water level changes when you put something in. For instance, when you use plasticine, you can put a ball of plasticine in and you can see how much water it has displaced. Then if you change the shape of the ball of plasticine and put it back in the water and make it float, you should see that it displaces more water. And so that's just some little experiments you can try to get your pupils to do and to show these principles of buoyancy. So we'll then move on to the different activities that you can find in the Subsea channel lesson pack about buoyancy. The first activity is using plasticine to look at floating and sinking. The idea is here, if you get a big bowl and some plasticine, the idea is that you make the plasticine in different shapes and see how this affects how it moves through the water. In the lesson plan it says you could time how long it takes for the shape to reach the bottom, which can be quite hard, so you might want to take kind of a time-lapse video of it, which might make it easier. But another way to do it is also if you use two shapes, so make one ball and then another shape, and then you can compare how long it takes for them to drop down. So you can make different shapes. You can make it into a disc shape. There we go. See what happens then. See the different shapes behave differently in the water. And ultimately, you can set your pupils the challenge to build a boat that can hold the most weight. For the weight, we'll be using paper clips, which are nice and easy to count and are not too heavy. So let's see if I can make a boat that floats. There we go. So get them to make a shape and then add as many paper clips as they can. So this is always, it works well. When you do this with teachers, it's always great. Oh, there we go, it already sang. But set a challenge to make the best boat that can hold the largest amount of paper clips. And that will get your pupils really engaging with this activity. And they should find out as they go along that the larger and the flatter they make their boat, the more paper clips it will be able to hold. So get them experimenting with that. And then the final activity in the lesson plan is all about different vessels and different shapes. And what we have for that, I've got some little wooden boats in different shapes. So we've got a square one, a pointy one, a round one, and an even pointier one. And what I have here is a length of guttering. It's literally just 1 meter of guttering with some gutter ends at the end that I've filled with water. It's you can just get them at a hardware store very cheaply, and you can make the boats, and then we can test and see how these boats behave in the water. We'll be using gravity to pull the boats forward, so I've just got a little bit of string here with some paper clips attached, so the paper clips are being pulled down to the ground by gravity, which is in turn going to pull my boat forward. So I'll move over here and show the pointy boat. Just going to let go. Paper clips are being pulled down and it's dragging the boat forwards. And obviously you can time this with your pupils and see how long it takes for the boat to reach the end. And then if we try this one, we should find that the more streamlined, so the pointier our shape, the faster it moves. And once kind of children have looked at this and have kind of discovered the main principles, you can then challenge them to build their own boats. So they could make wooden boats, but better yet, you could just use recyclable materials and get them to design their own boat, which is either the fastest or the slowest in this setting. And if you want to take it even a step further, you could challenge them to find a different way of moving their boat. So rather than using gravity, they could use wind, they could even build some electric motors or use elastic power. So get them to play with that as well. So that was the final activity of the Vessels lesson plan. All the materials are freely available at the Subsea channel website, and I hope to see you again.